Hey guys, my name is Ryan and welcome to Overwatch Central. So we are approaching the end of 2018, so I figured now was a good time to sit and look at the turbulent year of Overwatch. But also, ironically at the same time, it was also very quiet and very lackluster. With that said, I think the community and us ourselves have been very critical of Blizzard and Overwatch this year, but I do feel that they've done a lot of things right that have somewhat been overlooked or just forgotten about, to be honest. So in this video especially, I wanted to look at all of the good things that Blizzard and Overwatch have done this year to make Overwatch a much better place for everybody involved. It's broken down into several areas and no doubt there's some that I may have forgotten about myself. So if you do think of any other things that Blizzard have done right this year, do let me know in the comments below. For the things that they've done wrong, let's save that for another video. The first thing that I wanted to go over, because it happened right at the start of the year if you remember, were the non-event cosmetics. Up until now, every new skin really that was added into the game was added in at Winter Wonderland, Junkenstein's Revenge, Summer Games. There are a couple of instances where new skins were added with no real reason, such as the Reinhardt skin from the Eichenwald shot, but the thing that I really wanted to focus on was the start of 2018 and those non-event cosmetics that came in with Blizzard World if you remember. These included Diablo, World of Warcraft and StarCraft inspired skins, some of which were amazing, and the ones that you're seeing on screen right now. I really wanted to highlight this first because I really enjoyed these skins. It was nice to have these skins just added into the game as normal cosmetics that you can find in normal loot boxes, but also to say to Blizz, can we do more of those please? It really went against the grain of Blizzard's schedule, which we've highlighted in another video. It was something that not a lot of people really expected, and because of that we had loads of new skins added in at the start of 2018 alongside the Overwatch League skins that went in too. So that was the first one, but speaking of the Overwatch League, that has to go in second, regardless of whether you like the esports scene or not, and there have been a lot of Overwatch League problems, which we will talk about some other time, but ultimately I feel that the league was a massive success. Ending in New York, which we were there for, and seeing the London Spitfire win the main trophy made me realise how far Overwatch has come as a sport, and the impact that the scene has had on the game as a whole. It was a really audacious and ambitious thing coming out of Blizzard to put together this league in this fashion, and it's still got a long way to go when it comes to the geographical locations of teams and having them play in their cities, but I feel like it's a step in the right direction. The main question is going to be if they can make Season 2 and Season 3 as successful, because I feel things might start to get tough on the game from then on out. So whilst it does have its problems, the Overwatch League is another thing that I feel Blizzard got right in 2018. Next up, I want to talk about the map additions. Blizzard World was kinda added in at the start of 2018, but I mostly wanted to focus on Rialto and Busan that were both pretty good competitive maps, especially when you look at 2017 and see the maps of Horizon Lunar Colony and Junkertown. They were two maps that got the community very upset with how balanced these maps were and how just unfun they were to play too. Rialto is an exceptionally fun map to play in my opinion. Busan is also great, still trying to work it out though to be fair. A Blizzard World isn't bad, it's not great, it's not amazing, but it's still pretty good. And not only that, we've had Blizzard actually changing up some of the worse maps and making them a little bit more fun, such as Horizon Lunar Colony. Remember that Horizon Lunar Colony got a rework and it's a lot better. It's still kind of rough to play sometimes, but ultimately I still think it's a lot more fun than it used to be. I think Blizzard have made some really nice competitive maps, but let's be fair, they've also made some pretty nice maps in other places. Remember the map that we saw for Year of the Rooster, who I think none of us really had the chance to play to be honest, because nobody really played it. But also you have to look at Petra for the competitive deathmatch edition for the anniversary. Both of which are pretty good maps. It'd be nice to see them played a little bit more than usual, but both are still pretty good in that fashion. So the map additions in the game have also been pretty good this year. Next up, I want to highlight the minor balance changes in the game. There's been some pretty major swings in the meta and how it's approached, probably leaning towards the bad side of Overwatch in 2018, but you got to admit that some of the minor balance changes that Blizzard have come out with have been somewhat ingenious and have made heroes that were kind of bad before a little bit better, but not completely meta. You're looking at heroes such as Anna that had the change that she could shoot through full health targets, she could heal her teammates with her ultimate. Both of these changes weren't big in nature, but they really made a big impact on the hero and made it so Anna was no longer a trash pick. Heroes like Doomfist that was slowly put into a position where he was actually quite good now. Granted he got nerfed to the ground again, but you could sort of apply that same thing to heroes like McCree, who's slowly being made better at the moment. You have May, who is pretty exceptional right now and might become very meta very soon. You have the rework to Pharah, which got a lot of people upset with how balanced she was, but now players are leaning towards these changes being positive, and of course Sombra, very similar sort of regard there. Granted, there are more heroes in the game that need a little bit more love in my opinion, but the minor balance changes that Blizzard have had to just increase heroes to make them a little bit better but not too strong, Bastion at the moment is a really good example of that, has made it so the meta as a whole has a lot of variety and you can pretty much get away with playing any hero at the moment. It's certainly not going to be meta, but when does that stop people playing those heroes anyway? Next up is the avoid as teammate option. Now this certainly doesn't really need describing. It was a nice way to avoid certain players on your team that were hurling abuse at you, but not being a system that you can exploit to remove players as you did before that you didn't want to play with or against because they were too good. It was a system that seemed so good that players wanted to see it more and more. Free avoid as teammate slots is certainly not a lot, that I think it'd be nice to bump that up to 4 or 5 in 2019 if possible. It was a nice change, and no doubt there's going to be more social features like it. Toxicity is still a big problem within Overwatch, but it certainly doesn't seem as bad as it used to be before. At least in my perspective, I know some people may disagree with that. But it was one of the major social features that actually made an impact on the game. The others, not so much. Retribution stood out amazingly in comparison to the other events. It was a great thing that Blizzard put together, a lot of press and a lot of hype behind it to try and get people to play the game again, and it certainly showed a glimpse of what Blizzard could do with their storytelling in a game like Overwatch. It wasn't the best event in the world, but you got to admit that it was quite fun and was really set up nicely with stuff like showing it off at the Overwatch League and also the skins involved. Now I want to talk about the BCRF campaign. It was great for a number of reasons. Of course, it raised so much money for charity, a really important charity, and it was a really solid campaign put together by Blizzard to raise that money with a specific skin that you could get in game, but also how that connected with the streamers, the content spray drops that you could get from watching certain streamers. It had such an impact on the whole community, raising some money for charity, which is great, but also the streamers that were involved, Queenie, for example, getting 50,000 concurrent viewers. I think Blizzard really underestimated how much of a campaign can really affect streamers like that, but we have seen Blizzard do more of this in the future. We've seen the Nana Cola challenge that came out around Gamescom and such, but also now Blizzard have set up a streamer studio that they can have devs join certain streamers that are playing from the offices in a way to fully integrate themselves with the Twitch community of Overwatch. Of course, the big problem is that us YouTubers don't really get anything because we don't stream as Overwatch Central, but Blizzard really care about its community and its ambassadors for the community, that they're willing to work alongside them, and I want to see more campaigns to raise money for charity, but also to give a little bit of love to the smaller streamers that are still dedicating a lot of time and effort into streaming Overwatch. And lastly, I do want to talk about the hero additions. Now I know people are going to say, really, Brigitte is a good thing? Maybe not so much, but the hero additions have been very inspired recently. I think that Brigitte, Wrecking Ball and Ashe are all very different heroes in style. All of them bring a lot to the table. And when it comes to the addition of new compositions, new metas, new playstyles, and just new interactions with how heroes work together, again, you can't really knock Blizzard for trying when it comes to some very exciting, interesting and very different heroes, but also bringing out somebody like Ashe, who is fairly straightforward but still a lot of fun to play, very FPS inspired. And to think it's only going to be a couple more months until we have Hero 30 in the game, so there's a lot to look forward to in the future. The final thing that I want to add to this list isn't a thing as such, it's a person, and that's Jane. Jane has been a terrific person to have in the community for 2018, coming in as a smaller streamer that was just VOD reviewing and helping people improve at the game, to now being one of the biggest streamers within Overwatch, not only being really entertaining, fun and informative to watch, but bringing a lot of love and support to the tier 2 and competitive Overwatch scene, which to be honest even Overwatch isn't doing at this point. He's managed to hit his dream being an Overwatch League coach with Dallas Fuel, and yet still manages to bring more and more back to the community, so definitely a big shout out to him, and I can't wait to see what he's going to be doing in 2019. But that is everything that I wanted to go over in this video. Blizzard and the Overwatch community have got a lot right this year, they've got plenty wrong, but certainly don't overlook some of the amazing things that have happened to the game in this year. The balance changes have been solid. Let me know your favourites and things that I may have missed, because no doubt I did. But thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.